sorry about this horrible light, you'll feel a lip here at the very top. I can get a better picture of this. You can kind of stick your finger up here. If you get your whole hand on it, you can pull up on it just a little bit. Once you pull up a little bit on it, you can push it back down. Then you'll have a lip on this bezel piece, which on most cars will be black. And you can lift up on that. Once you lift up on that, then this whole entire piece will come out. You'll have harnesses connecting this here if you have a window shade, if you have that package, ESP button, the window switches, which will only be one harness for this whole package here, for this whole set of switches. It should be on this side. Actually, it's my mistake. There's two connectors, but one harness, and it's on this side. And then here, one for the airbag, and then, like I said, if you have the window or the shade for the window in the back, one for that as well. Then this whole piece will just lift out, and you'll have these little black tabs here, and here, and here on the other side. You'll get with a knife or a really small flathead screwdriver. Push those tabs inward on each side. Get all of those pushed in, and these will drop out. Basically, it's one big unit for all four of these switches, and it comes out. Same thing for the ESP button. There is a tab on the back side here and here. Push those tabs in, that will come out. Same for this button. Same for that. This is actually a lot larger than it looks on the other side. It's about that big. So once you have all those out, then you can start wrapping the piece. A lot of people I've seen do wraps, and they will try and tuck the material inside of the switch hole. Well, these are pretty tight on the sides. You could probably get away with it front and back. On the sides though, these are very tight. I've tried it, and just having that extra bit of material inhibits the switch from working smoothly. You'll feel it, and then it starts to work its way up on the sides there, just from the friction of rubbing. So what I did, again, take a really sharp knife, razor blade sharp, and cut these out. Again, heating the material makes that a lot easier. So once you put this over the top, work your air bubbles out, heat the holes or the material covering the holes again, then that'll show you where they are. And then you can just run the knife along the edge there, and it will get it very close. And in fact, you know, it pretty much cuts it out. Almost, it looks laser etch quality of cut. So if you look at these buttons up here, you know, it looks like they were made for that. You know, it doesn't have any kind of chafing or rough edges or anything like that. This material cuts very well, especially if you use a new razor blade, which I recommend each time. But around each of these switches, around the climate control unit, everything's very very tight. There's no ununiform edges or anything like that. And you know, I'll just put, generally what I'll do is I'll just put the blade, you know, at the edge here, like you would run your fingernail across, you know, and just run it straight across. And I do that for the switches too. You know, I'll get it inside there like almost like your fingernail, and then just run it around, all around there, and pretty much makes the cuts perfect. This piece removes a little bit differently than the rest of these. Oh, by the way, once you have this piece up, there will be a screw right about here and right about here for this ashtray assembly, which will then actually pull out towards you. I would recommend, keeping the car and probably the drive setting for that, and then this whole unit will come out. Be a little bit leery of the connections for the cigarette lighter. They're pretty short, so you kind of got to get in there and work your hand behind there and release them before you go tugging on it. But anyhow, then you'll take those two screws out, set them aside. This assembly comes out, and then what you'll end up doing is removing this door veneer from the plastic itself, because this is actually two separate pieces. There's the wood veneer on the top, and then the plastic that you probably won't be able to see in this video, but on the bottom. And you'll remove the veneer to wrap it, because you want to actually tuck this wrap up underneath to where it looks like it's supposed to be part of it. The same goes for the door here for the cup holder. What you'll do is you'll go ahead and remove this. They're just pulling straight out on that. Yeah, I know mine's messy back there, but you'll have these. You can kind of see it in this video. These tabs here. These two are just hooks that kind of hook in there. This one down here at the bottom is actually a clip. So you'll get a knife, really small knife, or a really small flathead screwdriver, say for a kit for glasses, repair for glasses or something like that. Slip it in this side here and push it up, and then this will actually separate and slide away, because this is just a veneer as well to this plastic piece, which is actually the operational piece. This just slides back in here. So far as that goes, and that's how you'll pretty much do all of this. Difficult part to get this piece off, and you'll want to take this piece off if you're going to wrap it. Stereo's got to come out. Mine's obviously an aftermarket unit, but for your factory ones, you'll need the removal tools that look like this, one for each side. Fairly inexpensive. I think these were, I don't know, $3 or $4 to remove not only your factory stereo, but your climate control as well. You'll remove the factory stereo, and then right about here, and here, on this edge here, a little bit behind there, are 3 brass colored Phillips screws. You'll remove those, and then this unit will swing from the bottom, this whole piece, and then it has 3 anchors that hook in at the top there. You'll want to remove your climate control. Again, they have release holes right here for both sides. So you'll stick the tools in there, remove it, unplug it, and set it aside. Once you do, depending on how many switches you have up here, depending on how equipped your car is, these 3 are one piece, and then I believe these 2 here are one piece, and then these are each a separate piece. So there's 2 zip ties on mine here that hold the whole wire harness on the back. You can cut those, and then these 2, I believe, just have a couple wires going to them for the illumination, and then the rest of it plugs into this for the rest of the operation. So the main harness goes into these 3, which is your hazard button and your door lock switch and your rear headrest release, and then the rest of these kind of just feed off of that, and then have their separate harnesses for their separate operation. So anyhow, these remove very similar to these. They have little clips in them. You press those little clips, and they will come out of the back. You'll have to remove them in kind of a sequential order. So these will come out first, these will come out second, this will come out third. Once you have that set, then you have a piece that you can wrap away from the unit. And moving along to these pieces here, let me see if I can get any light on this. I'm not sure if I can. We'll go look at this one. So to do these pieces, basically what I did was I cut a piece larger than that opening there, and I taped it to the door, and then I basically cut out the seat side, or the seat button, just kind of a rough basic cut, something that would just enough to get it, slip it over. Not enough to get the entire outline here that you see, you know, that's kind of indented. You want to do that. You want to do the details very last. So basically, you just want to cut that enough to slip it over. Don't worry about the number switches for the memory. You can cut those out afterwards. You just want enough to slip over those raised buttons or switches for the seat. Once you do that, remove the backing, remove the tape that's holding it to the door, slip it over, heat it up with the heat gun, and then start working the bubbles out with your squeegee, your 10 squeegee, or credit card, or whatever you have that you use. I would recommend also using gloves, because you're going to be working in a small enough area with enough heat to where it can, you know, kind of burn your hands a little bit. So I'd be careful of that. This top piece, yeah, it's a really bad time of day to be doing this. This top piece up here that goes along the windshield, you're going to start from the passenger side. Oh, if you're in a left-hand drive market. And to get this piece out, basically, you know, there's a bunch of anchors along this piece. And the anchor at this end basically grabs the bolt that's sticking out of the trim piece itself differently than all the rest of the anchors. So all the rest of the anchors are kind of like a picture frame, you know, or a speaker that you mount on your wall, where it's got a larger opening where you slip it over the nail, and then the opening goes smaller so that it kind of grabs the head of the nail or the screw on the wall. Works the same way for this. So what you need to do is work a credit card in between the dashboard itself, the vinyl part of the dashboard, and the wood trim. And once you do that, I use the squeegee for the tint or the vinyl, because it's a little bit firmer than a credit card, works a little bit better. But I slipped it in between there, pulled that out, and then just pull on a little bit, just enough to get the bolt out of the anchor, and then pull this whole piece towards the right hand side of the vehicle, and then it will pull straight out. But basically those are the pieces that you have to remove from the car. So you'll remove this piece, the ashtray assembly, and then you'll separate this veneer from the ashtray. This bezel, you'll open this ashtray door and just remove the veneer part, because taking this all apart is just, it's too much of a battle. And nothing on the doors. You won't be removing this piece, you know, this long piece across here. You won't be removing the switch bezel. None of that needs to come out. You can wrap all that while you're in the car, just with heat, patience, and a good squeegee tool. And that's pretty much it. I'll post some other pictures on actually wrapping it, and Appreciate everybody's patience with my low light quality video here. Take care.